call to order the Landmarks Commission meeting for December 19th, 2023. Time is currently 6:58.
Roll call, we got P. Lynch,
Yes.
Dave Kirkhoff,
Yes.
Rich Dobley, yes. Roger White,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly,
Yes.
Whit Wardell,
Yes.
Linda Bobby.
Yes.
Can I get an approval of minutes for the November 27th meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of November 27th.
A second?
Roll call, Linda Bobby,
Yes.
Whit Wardell,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly,
Yes.
Roger White,
Yes.
Rich Dobley, yes. Dave Kirkhoff.
Yes.
P. Lynch.
Yes. Pending applications?
The first application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-050. Address and subject property is 94 West Waterloo Street. The request this evening is for new asphalt shingles on the residential home. Up on the screen are some kind of better photographs I had from 2019 that show kind of the color and the existing 3-tab asphalt shingles on the home. This photograph was taken before the siding was changed later in 2022. But just looking at the photographs the applicant has here, you can see same roof, just new siding was applied to the house. The applicant is looking to replace the roofing on the home and the detached garage. I believe.
The detached garage will stay. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. And the new roofing they're looking to do is a GAF dimensional charcoal shingle. Since this is a color and shingle profile change, ask the applicant to come before Landmarks Commission for your guys' approval. Applicants here, if you have any questions. And then if you just want to step up to the podium, sign in for me.
I have all this for you as well. I think it's a lot of the stuff you have. I'll just give this to you. That has the contract and everything else in there. And then this would be the color of the shingle. So it's got a little bit of the gray, but it is a black shingle.
Will the valleys, are they metal?
They can be.
Or are they
We typically like to do.
shingles right now?
Right now, they're metal.
Okay.
We can do both options. We can make them metal and do like a black or like a silver color or like a galvanized color, or we like to do a closed cut valley where we do the ice and water shield, and then over time, those valleys don't like rust and deteriorate. It's just a little more effective for us. It's an algae and stain resistant shingle, so if you look at that middle photo, you won't see all that staining and streaking. It's guaranteed not to stain and streak for 25 years, so aesthetically it should look pretty good, I guess, depending on what you like.
And it is only the house, you said?
It is only the house. The back roof is actually a rubber roof. It's a flat roof, so that's going to be left alone.
You plan to tear off all the old shingles?
We are, so all the decking underneath those shingles is rotting. It's actually plank board. There was probably a time that had slate on it. There's a good possibility. So there's big gaps in the planks, so we have to put decking down to secure the shingles. So we won't remove the plank board, so we don't have to worry about the underbelly of the roof, like you can see the exposed soffits. Those will stay actually intact. The decking will just go right over top of the plank board.
How about like drip edge?
Drip edge will go full perimeter on eaves and all rakes.
Is that white now?
You know, I can verify that. I don't believe, I think we were gonna do the drip edge in like a black color to blend in with the shingle. I do believe he still has that green tone. Is that with the new color? Yeah, it's still got green trim, I believe. I can verify that.
And the trim will stay as
We're not gonna
is.
touch any, yeah, the historic part of all that, like the exposed soffit, and I forget what those are called, those little, like, the things, the little decorative ornate pieces, all that stuff will stay
Are you
intact.
going to do anything with the gutters?
We aren't. We aren't gonna do anything with the gutters.
Are you going to take them off to redo the roof and rehang them?
We won't have to.
Okay.
Nope.
I like the darker color than the present roof.
Typically, the black shingle always gives everything, just kind of brightens up the space, you know, gives you a little bit more of a contrast with the siding.
Are there any further questions for the applicant? I'd like to make a motion that we approve application CA-23-050 as presented.
I'd like to second.
Roll call, Pete Lynch.
Yes.
Rich Dobda, yes. David Craycraft?
Yes.
Roger White?
Yes.
Whit Wardell?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Linda Bovee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The next application on tonight's agenda is CA 23051. Address of subject property is 48 East Waterloo Street. The request this evening is for a new fence on the western property line. The Mobile Med Spa opened month ago, 2 months ago. After a long time of renovations from the residential home to this commercial business here. I think throughout the way, the applicant here has learned a lot about renovating an old property, including putting up a fence, not liking it, and then wanting to change it.
Yeah.
So with that, this is the fence that you guys approved back in their first application about a couple months ago. This has since been changed to a more simple privacy-style decorative fence that has a top rail cap. Same location, same height, just a different style, separating this property and the property to the west. If there's any questions, the applicant can help talk about the change with you guys.
The other fence just bowed. It was just hideous. And so we just told them to fix it and ended up where we landed here, which is the same fence as outside local cantina.
Has anybody ever come to us and said that they didn't like what we approved and came back and redid it? No, you know what, I like what you're doing more so than what.
So do we, yeah.
Andrew, I think you should
Attractive.
keep a copy of the photograph showing the warpage in that fence, so anybody applying can see that photo of what's going to happen in 1 year.
Yeah, there is another horizontal rail fence that you guys approved with the conditions that there would be backer plates to keep it from warping. And within a week of them installing it, they hadn't had the backer plates on yet and it already started to warp. So they had to replace those warp panels and then put a backer on like what was talked about because it warped that fast. So I think it's definitely something, you know, for the commission just to have as consideration when they're reviewing this style.
You're gonna keep it natural?
Yeah, it needs to be stained or, yeah, but natural, yeah, clear.
You're just going to clear coat it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I think it looks great. The whole place looks great.
Thank you.
Landscaping's nice.
And actually, you can see in there what we ended up doing to the back porch based on our last time here.
Yeah, I was gonna comment on
Yeah.
that, that looks nice.
It turned out
Better.
well.
You did the
Yep.
same on the back, on the
Yep.
alley side too,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
it's
the
much
pillars are
better.
the same, yeah.
It's much, much better.
I make a motion that we approve CA 23051 as presented.
I'll second. Is that Whit?
Roll call, Linda Bovee?
Yes.
Whit Wardell?
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly?
Yes.
Roger White?
Yes.
Rich Dobda, yes. David Craycraft?
Yes.
Pete Lynch?
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks, happy holidays.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks.
Last application on tonight's agenda is CA 23-052. The address is 20 South High Street. This is a request for selective demolition for the exterior of this building. The city of Canal Winchester purchased the building here a year and a half ago. We're looking to do some improvements to it, try to bring back some historical character to the building. As part of that, we need to take off some of the faux restoration work that was done to the front facade. Photograph here for you guys just to look at from the 50s, early 60s, showing what it looked like when it was a Sunoco station before it was turned into a doctor's office. You see here some of the larger garage door bays where they would service vehicles, more of a storefront window system on this end. The only door at this time was in this location here. Some awnings on this end, but just to kind of give you an idea of what that building used to look like. What we're looking to do is remove the mansard roof on the front of the building. The mansard roof does stick out across the whole entirety of the building. With the mansard roof being removed, it'll kind of bring back that front elevation to this kind of two-block stature that was there previously. This section here of the building with the window is an addition. There's a staircase right here that was added that leads down to the basement. At one point in time, there was like a metal grate over that staircase that went to the basement for like a hatchway. We're looking to take this addition off and then doing something similar in its place with like a metal grate back, because there's interior access to the basement. But more importantly, that window that is on this elevation, we're gonna be putting a window back behind this wall here on the original wall of the building. You can kind of see here how it projects out and how much of an addition was added. Again, it's really just the stairs that lead down to a basement door. The brick on the building is a stucco brick, so it's not actual even thin brick. It's right on top of the existing concrete block masonry. So we're looking to remove all of the brick to see the current condition that's underneath. And then on the side that faces Stradley Place, there used to be window openings, 3 windows on this elevation. We're going to be punching the holes back to put windows back in for the new tenant, to kind of give you an idea of where those will be located, approximate sizes. Lucas is here to kind of talk more about the project, but this is really kind of an inspirational photograph of what we want to try to bring it back to. This isn't a final design. This is kind of preliminary where we work on architecturals. But we're really here to get some feedback from you guys, answer any questions, and like I said, this is his project he's working on right now, so.
What's the material, the gray?
So this is a rendering we had done by Brian Kent Jones. So basically a concept for leasing. So it was just shown as, basically we would potentially paint that. We have no idea what the condition of the walls underneath are. And so I think what we're going to end up doing is just putting face brick across the whole front of the building.
Is the plan still to paint it rather than leave it?
No, we would pick probably a lighter brick color to do the front, and then the block on the rear and the sides would be painted.
So the sides will look like what they look like now.
Yeah, but we don't have plans for any of that currently. So we haven't entered into a contract yet with the design build firm, but we are going to do that likely this week. But we do have a tenant lined up for this location. And so we've signed a lease with Johnson's Ice Cream, who will be leasing this location. So we're just starting to get into that. Interior demolition's nearly complete. And really what we would like to do is here over the next few weeks is to get those window openings cut in and start the exterior demolition while we're developing the plans for the exterior. And so that'll be picking out specific windows, specific brick for the front of the building, awnings, all of the things we're working with our architect to get those selected.
So would the patio area be pavers or concrete?
The patio is going to be concrete primarily. We're working with EMH&T to develop those plans. It'll contain, it won't look like this in terms of configuration. There's some pretty significant grade change that takes place from the front of the building. We go back to the front photo. You can see there's a step down from the front there, and then the driveway drops off. So we'll be completely removing that head-in parking. It's a huge safety hazard for the community. So the idea of the CWICC, repositioning this building is to make it more retail restaurant oriented. That was the goal with creating someone to lease that space, to get rid of this head-in parking, create on-street parking. The city has a streetscape plan that we're working on. The pavers that you see in this photo all are failing. Those were installed in the mid-90s, and they've just reached the end of their life. So those will be removed as part of that project, and we'll be creating a bump out with a crosswalk, which is the informal crosswalk currently between Shades and Stradley Place there. And so that'll be a formalized crosswalk. We'll bump that out. There'll be a low seating wall on that patio that will match the brick columns and piers that we have in Stradley Place. So it'll be a brick, low seating wall there with a limestone cap.
So
And
will
then-
that come back as another application, the exterior?
It will, yeah.
Okay.
So we'll be back next month, hopefully, with the patio plans. If not the patio next month, the following month, the patio next month with the exterior architecture. But at this point,
Just approved.
at this point, we're looking to get those windows cut in on the south side. Those windows were there, the headers and everything are there. We have a structural engineer looking to make sure that those would still work, or whether we need to reinforce those or replace them. And then the demolition of the mansard roof across the front and the installation of the window opening there, you can see at the far right of the building.
So the
Lucas, is
squirrel
that-
picture goes.
I'm sorry. The brick that you're talking about taking out that's in the road, or is it going clear into the road or just the side where you're taking all that brick out?
All the pavers in both the street and the sidewalk would be removed, and then that area you see with the drive, that would all be curbed.
Okay. Was that the brick that designated what the canal boat looked like?
It is.
That's a shame.
Is there a plan to recreate that path like it is, or just?
No.
Just gonna pave it?
Correct.
At that point?
Too bad.
Yeah, it would be paved. There is a historic marker in front of Shades that designates the canal and
It was
denotes
fun to be
that.
able to show people when they came to town and say, this is how big the canal
Yeah.
boat was. I had them walking that, so I will miss that tremendously.
Yeah, I don't believe that's the plan. They haven't fully developed those, so if you're very fond of those, then make mention to one of your council members that you would like to see that continue, but very few people know it's there. So I'm glad you do. But we'll also be replacing all the pavers at the intersection of High and Waterloo.
Oh, really?
And so the entire intersection, the pavers will be coming out. We will have something to denote the medallion in the middle of the intersection that's there currently, but all of those will be coming out as well.
I think if those had ever been pressure washed and people knew that that's what it was, rather than just driving over this dirty spot in the road, because it was a lovely piece.
No, I agree with you. I knew it
I
was.
mean, I'm an artist, so I'm looking at the artistic value
Sure.
of that, so I do hate to see those pieces go.
Yeah, they became more of like a ADA safety concern, because they don't have like the most current standards on how to denote where the sidewalk ends and the street starts, and like the tactile warning strips that were built into those bricks have started to disappear. So it's a huge safety improvement project, but we're also looking at refreshing the branding basically of downtown to make it have, I believe, more contrast than kind of what's there now with kind of the muted tones, so.
So I'm sure later there'll be a sign, some type of Johnson ice cream sign.
Yeah, so the tenant will come back with their signage package at some point. They would like to be open at the end of May, first part of June is what they're looking at. So there's a lot of work to be done. That's why I'm here with the selective demolition, because we really have to get those window openings cut in so they can start their interior finish.
Lucas, are you gonna keep the sidewalk in the front concrete until the next phase, so it's not all torn up, and, or is that all gonna get ripped out here soon?
It will it's part of our street package for next year, and so, all the pavers in the front and the concrete and everything will all come out probably about the same time.
Okay, I'm talking about the parking area in front of the building, now they're gonna keep all that for a while.
It will be there until the spring, yes,
Are there tanks underground?
there are,
Those have to
Gas
be,
station.
yes.
do those have to be removed?
They do not. So it's a pre-Buster site from the 1970s, so it was closed as a gas station prior to 1973. And so there are contaminated soils there, but they're not being impacted by the project, so they don't have to be cleaned up. But that's one of the reasons the city purchased the site, because we didn't want to see subpar uses continue to go in there, and we wanted to reposition that building. It had been the same office tenant in that space since 1974. And so you don't have many places like that with the same business operating there for 50 years. And it probably had been nearly as long since the interior of that building had been updated, if any of you had been in there. So
I could be,
it'll be a nice refresh.
I could be pretty cool somewhere in the building, to put like what that building used to look like.
This photo,
In terms of this, or,
Well, like that building. I mean, just a picture
or this.
or something.
we did
Yeah,
find
not
that,
that.
we did find the architectural plans in the ceiling when we were doing demo for the renovation.
In the ceiling.
Yeah, they were in the drop ceiling there.
Do you know-
Hopefully, no one ever builds that again.
Do you know if this was originally the Beck Company, their site? Because they had a gas station, so I wondered if that went all the way back.
It
Yeah.
was, so there was a smaller gas station building here with a large canopy in the front.
They had a hardware store, it was quite a.
Yeah, and then just to the south was the hardware,
And the
which
canal
then
was going up.
turned into a dry cleaner and salon, which the city tore down when we built Stradley Place.
Yeah. So, okay.
Cool.
But yeah, the idea we gave to our architect that did the renderings was, this is what we would like to recreate the feel of this. We want to recreate the same front facade, with some of the window selections and things we're going to do. We're going to try to at least give you the sense of the garage doors. They won't be garage door openings. We had a concept for garage door openings in that you could do if it was a, bar, restaurant type of indoor-outdoor seating. But with Johnson's Ice Cream taking that, they prefer the other layout without the garage door openings. So that's what we're looking at, but we will have some window selections that kind of mimic that. I'm not sure the total size of those window openings. It's been filled in with block, but all the headers and everything from the garage door are all still there once we opened that up on the interior. So I'm just not sure how high we're going to take those with the new windows that go in, but we'll bring all that back for the next meeting.
Do you have an idea of what the square footage is of the inside of this building?
It's
Or it will be?
it's 1,540 square feet,
Thank you.
so it's rather small.
Can we see the concept one more time? I think that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so you can see that line kind of across the top, that's kind of an old gas station thing, so we asked them to include that. So the idea is we'll just have the brick, protrude out in that area just to give some dimension and kind of interest to that front facade.
Is that stepped out, or is it just kind of
It-
horizontal lines? that
It
are-
could be, it's meant to be horizontal lines. It could be, we'll work with the architect on what the best solution is there. But yeah, based on what we're seeing on the inside, without tearing out the brick on the outside, we're probably gonna re-brick the whole front rather than just try to work with what's been patched in.
We learned from the Chase Bank experience quickly, seeing them tear off that marble, what it looked like, so we're not optimistic.
Yeah, it'll be really nice on the inside to get those windows on the south elevation. It'll bring so much light into that space. And then to kind of have the indoor-outdoor experience of being able to sit inside in the winter and look out on the fountain and Stradley Place there. And then just the idea of Stradley Place, having an ice cream shop there, will add a lot to the downtown area. And just the activity we'll see.
Is the, you said that was stucco brick on there now, like a formed, it's not even a thin brick applied?
Yeah, it's the same stucco brick that's on like the old Napa store.
Okay.
It's the same material,
And did they go right over?
same builder.
Right over the old brick? Or did they
They
form up a wall?
there was like a mesh screen, and then they sprayed the stucco, and then they took a
It's like formed onto
form
that
and
stucco.
then carved out each brick, and then they painted it all.
Yeah, so it's the same that's on the front of
Do
the
you
old
know if
Napa
it's
building.
over the old brick, or did they frame something out?
It was concrete block.
Yeah, it's concrete block, it's a block
Yeah.
building.
I've seen that done, where they framed it out first and then applied it, which was great, because you just ripped the framing off and
Yeah.
everything was still intact.
Yeah, this is
Not
Luke's,
gonna get that lucky.
this is Luke's foot going through the wall. So,
It actually is, it was so wet, where it absorbed so much moisture right there.
That's exciting. Does anybody have any further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve application CA-23-052 as stated.
I'll second.
Roll call, Pete Lynch.
Yes.
David Craycraft.
Yes.
Rich Dobde, yes. Roger White.
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Whit Wardell.
Yes.
Linda Bovee.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks. Good luck.
For old new business, city council did reappoint Roger White to serve another 4 years, so
4 more years.
thank him for serving another term
Thanks,
with you
Roger.
guys. Excited to keep the same group had the pleasure of having here for this past year. You guys have been excellent to work with, as always. I don't really have much for old new business. I already have an application for January, so we will have a meeting then. I did send out the calendars for you guys. If there's any typos, let me know and I'll get it corrected. I already had Liz at our office review it once to make sure I didn't mess anything up.
They were all Mondays.
When is Sweet Harmony going to open?
They want to be open by the end of the year. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. They have some interior finishing to do. I think they're working on constructing the bar inside of there before they get their last couple inspections. But they're pretty close.
And it's still going to be a venue type?
That's the current occupancy they're working towards, yes, is for like a venue hall. And then for those that didn't see the last couple P&Z meetings, Joe Vino, they got an administrative sign permit from me to put a new sign on their building that met current regulations to be a wood or metal panel. They ended up putting an acrylic panel and then refabricating the light box cabinet to have it internally illuminated. I gave her a call, let her know that the permit paperwork I gave her had conditions. It was a wood or metal panel, but based off of a conversation we had. She appealed my permit approval to Planning and Zoning Commission. They upheld my standing on the conditions of the permit approval and told her she could apply for a variance. Her variance went before them last Monday, and they denied the variance, given that the sign for Rinaldi's had expired for over 365 days, so it was required to meet current code. We'll see. She has until Thursday to appeal that to City Council. I just want to make you guys aware of that. It never went before you guys because it was an administrative, just sign face change, and it's just had a whole lot of extra steps in between that. So just to catch you up to speed on that in case you have seen anything online about it.
Andrew, you might bring them up to date on existing grandfathered internally lit signs and what will happen to those if a new occupant chooses to, or if the current occupant chooses to do a sign face
Yep.
change.
So our zoning regulations for signage were updated in 2017. That included the new Old Town signage rules that I've included in all your application packets for people that want to do signage. Grandfathered in is a term that applies to somebody that had a code change while they owned a property. So if someone owned a piece of property and the code changed, they could be grandfathered in under the older code. If someone purchases a property and code changed under a prior occupant, they're not grandfathered in. So that's something to be just distinguished. But then our sign code says that anything that is non-conforming, which means it doesn't meet current code, if it is amended, it's to meet current code. And so in this case, the signage was amended, that she said there was a wood panel on it and she put acrylic in, so that was the amendment. So just whenever we're looking at applications and someone's wanting to do something that doesn't meet current code, I will make them aware, and then if they want to pursue it, I'll make you aware in their applications. You guys have the ability to talked to them about making something historically accurate and doing an administrative variance process. For example, the owner of Shades, they found an old shade sign that was tube-lit neon, and they asked me if they could put it on the building. It was not a primary sign for Shades, it was a secondary, it pointed down the alley that basically said, that's like where their side parking is, or was. I talked to him about, that could be an administrative variance process, but it'd have to go to Landmarks Commission for the recommendation for approval for it, because it is like the old sign they want to put back on the building sort of thing. So that's just one example of how, you can work with a property owner to do something that meets the intent of the guidelines that's outside of what current code regulations are. But I'll walk you through all that if anything comes up in the future. So don't worry about being left out in the dark. I'll help you.
79 Trine Street, looks like they've got the primer on all the construction they've done.
Good. Yeah, so that was the porch amendments that happened before you guys had approval on that. You guys approved that in February of this year. I had sent them a correction order that they had to get it completed by the end of December, which is when they first applied for you guys, not when you made your motion. And they asked if they could have until February when you made your motion to get that corrected. And so I talked with our law director. He said that, the extra 2 months was fine on that. It puts a hard date on it. And to help them out, since they seem to not be able to articulate some of the terminology you guys were saying on how that correction needed to happen, I put together an exhibit that was dimensioned on how tall the railings needed to be, how big the lumber needed to be, how it needed to be stacked, and gave that to them. That way they had clear direction how to get it corrected. It sounds like they were trying to get it done before, weather broke here, but they have until February to complete it, so. And no word on Brian Vance getting his fixed. He has a while to get that done, so.
What about the yellow brick for Todd's building, the old bank? Did they get
It got
that?
delivered, and they are putting it up. And I think he's gonna have a lot of the framing on the inside done by the end of this week. So he's just working on architectural details to come back to you guys for the 5-pon and the windows, the door openings. That's all I got.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn. The time is 7:31.
Second.
Roll call, Pete Lynch,
Yes.
Dave Carecraft,
Yes.
Rich Dobley, yes. Roger White,
Yes.
Dr. Scott Kelly.
Yes.
Whit Wardell,
Yes.
Linda Bogan.
Yes.